I, 38M, never imagined I'd be writing one of these posts. But here I am, trying to make sense of the wreckage that used to be my marriage. So buckle up, this one's a wild ride. My wife, Emily, 36F, and I have been married for 12 years. We've got 2 kids, 10M and 8F, a mortgage, and what I thought was a pretty solid relationship. Sure, we had our ups and downs like any couple, but I always believed we were strong. At least, I thought we were until 3 months ago. It all started on a regular Tuesday night. The kids were in bed, and Emily and I were sitting on the couch, sipping wine like we always did. Out of nowhere, she hit me with, "I've been thinking about us, and I think we should open our marriage." I almost choked on my Cabernet. "You want what now?" She launched into this long speech about how monogamy is unnatural and how she'd been reading about polyamory online. She said she felt like she'd missed out on certain experiences since we got together so young. I just sat there, stunned. I didn't know what to say. I guess she took my silence as me seriously considering it. It would be good for both of us, she said. We could explore while still keeping our family intact. I told her I needed time to process it. That night, I barely slept. Something about the whole thing felt off. Emily had never mentioned anything like this before, nothing even close. It was such a sudden shift that my gut told me there was more to the story. The next morning, while she was in the shower, I did what any suspicious husband would do. I checked her phone. And that's when everything unraveled. My instincts were dead on. Emily had been having an affair with her coworker, James, for the last 6 months. There were hundreds of messages between them, texts, photos I wish I could erase from my mind, and detailed plans for their meetups during her so-called girls' nights and work trips. It was all there, laid out in black and white. When I confronted her, she broke down immediately, admitted everything, told me the open marriage idea was James' suggestion so they could keep seeing each other without the guilt. She swore she still loved me and begged for forgiveness. I was completely gutted, but for the sake of the kids, I agreed to try marriage counseling. 2 weeks later, Emily's younger sister, Megan, 29F, came to stay with us for a while. Megan and I had always gotten along fine, but we were never particularly close. She knew about the affair. Emily had told her everything. Surprisingly, Megan was more supportive of me than her sister. She'd watch the kids so Emily and I could go to therapy, and she'd check in on me afterward to see how I was doing. It was comforting to have someone to talk to who wasn't trying to justify Emily's actions. Megan would sit with me after the kids went to bed, and we'd have these long conversations. She was easy to talk to, honest, blunt, and actually listened. She didn't try to minimize my feelings or tell me how I should react. One night, about a month into therapy, Emily was out with friends, or so she said. I was sitting in the kitchen with Megan, drinking a beer while she had a glass of wine. We were talking about relationships, how hard they are, how complicated they can get. Megan admitted that she'd always thought Emily took me for granted. "She's an idiot," Megan said, shaking her head. I laughed. "Thanks for the vote of confidence." She smiled, but there was something in her expression I couldn't quite place. After a moment, she said, seriously, "You're a good guy. You don't deserve this." And then it happened. Megan leaned in and kissed me. For a second, I didn't react. I was so shocked that my brain couldn't process what was happening. But then I kissed her back. It was impulsive and completely reckless, but it felt good. Too good. When we pulled apart, she looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to pull her back in, and part of me was screaming that this was a terrible idea. "I should go to bed," she said, getting up quickly. I sat there, heart racing, wondering what the hell I had just done. The next morning, things were awkward, but Megan acted normal. I think she was hoping we could just pretend it didn't happen. And maybe we could have, if it had been a one-time thing. But it wasn't. Over the next few weeks, the tension between us grew unbearable. Every time we were alone together, the air felt charged. She'd brush past me, and my whole body would react. We both knew we were towing a dangerous line, but neither of us seemed able to step away. One night, after Emily and I had another brutal argument about trust, I ended up in the kitchen with Megan again. I was angry and exhausted. Megan poured me a drink, and before I knew it, we were kissing again. This time, it didn't stop there. We slept together that night. It was intense, emotional, and messy. The guilt hit me immediately afterward, but at the same time, I didn't regret it. For the first time in months, I felt wanted, needed. Megan and I agreed that it couldn't happen again, but it did, over and over. Meanwhile, Things with Emily were falling apart. Therapy wasn't helping. Every session just felt like we were talking in circles. I couldn't get the image of her with James out of my head. And she could tell I was pulling away, but she didn't know why. It finally came to a head 2 weeks ago. Emily noticed that Megan and I were acting weird around each other. She confronted me, and I told her the truth. About the kiss. About the affair. About everything. She lost it. Screamed at me. Called me a hypocrite. And you know what? She wasn't wrong. I betrayed her the same way she betrayed me. The only difference was that I didn't try to justify it. I told her I was sorry, but I also told her that I wasn't sure I wanted to keep trying to fix things. That night, Emily packed a bag and went to stay at a friend's house. Megan left the next morning. She said she didn't want to make things harder for me. So now here I am, alone in the house, trying to figure out where to go from here. Emily has texted a few times, asking if I want to keep going to therapy. I haven't answered yet. Megan hasn't reached out, and I don't know if I should contact her. I don't know what happens next. Part of me feels like I burned my life to the ground. Another part wonders if maybe it was already on fire, and I just hadn't noticed yet.